Summary dialogue on CPU virtualization. Professor. So, student, did you learn anything? Well, professor, that seems like a loaded question. I think you only want me to say yes. That's the truth, but it also still on honest questions. Come on, give a professor a break, will you? Okay, I will. I did learn a few things. First, I learned a little about how the OS virtualized the CPU. There are a bunch of important mechanisms that I had to understand to make sense of this. Trap and the handler, traps and trap handlers, timer interrupts, and how the OS and the hardware have to carefully save and restore state when switching between processes. Good. All those interactions do seem a little complicated though. How can I learn more? Well, that's a good question. I think there is no substitute for doing. Just reading about these things does quite give you the proper sense. Do you do the class project too? And I bet by then it will all kind of make sense. Sounds good. What else can I tell you? Well, did you get some sense of the philosophy of the OS in your cast to understand its basic machinery? I think so. It seems like the OS is fairly paranoid. It wants to make sure it stays in charge of the machine while it wants your program to run as efficiently as possible, and hence the whole reasoning behind limited direct execution. And the OS also wants to be able to say, not so fast, my friend, in case an errant or malicious process. Paranoid rules the day, and certainly keeps the OS in charge of the mechanism. Perhaps that is why we think of the OS as a resource manager. Yes, indeed. Sounds like you are starting to put it together. Nice, thank you. Professor, and what about the policies on top of those mechanisms? Any interesting lessons there? Some lessons to be learned that for sure. Perhaps a little obvious, but obvious can be good. Like the notion of the bumping short job to the inform of the queue. I knew that was a good idea ever since the one time I was buying some gum at the store. Another guy in front of me had a credit card that wouldn't work. It was no short job, that let me tell you. That sounds oddly rude to that poor fellow. What else? Well, what that you can build a smart scheduler that tried to like SJF and RR at once. That MLFQ was pretty neat. Building up a real scheduler seems difficult. Well, indeed it is. That's why there is still controversy to this day over which scheduler to use. So the Linux battle between the CFS, BFS, and the O1 scheduler, for example. And no, I will not spell out the full names of BFS. And I want to ask you to. These policy battles seems like they could rage forever. Is there really a big right answer? Probably not. After all, even our own metric adds. If your schedule is good at turnaround time, it's bad at response time, and vice versa. As Lamson said, perhaps the goal isn't to find the best solution, but rather than to avoid disaster. Oh, that's a little depressing. Good engineering can be that way, and it can be also is uplifting. It's up to your perspective on it. And really, I personally think the being the problematic is a good thing. And the problematic still realize that not all problems have clean and easy solution. Anything else that caught your fancy? I really like the notion of the game in the scheduler. It seems like that might be something to look into when I'm next to running a job on the Amazon EC2 service. Maybe I can steal some cycles from some other unexpected and then most more importantly with ignorant customer. It looks like I might have the creative monster. Professor Frankenstein is not what I'd like to be called. But is that a good idea? That the idea to get us excited about something so much so we look into on our own, writing fires and that all. I guess so, but I didn't think it would work.